All right. Nice. All right. All right, guys. So basically, nodeschool.io, cool little website, right? It goes over basically, you're at like just different tutorials and stuff like that. Apparently they have events and stuff, but like you can check out their workshops, different stages throughout the month. So Node School Paris, like, look, you could have an excuse to go to Paris. Unless you're in Paris, then you wouldn't need an excuse, right? Anyway, lots of events apparently. San Francisco's coming up too. I'm pretty close to San Francisco. I could see going to something like that, but you can see like how to get going. Basically, it's really, really quick. Just npm install these globally so that you can use them. And I'll show you what I'm going to do here. Since I'm using Windows, I could use the git bash or I can use PowerShell. Really doesn't matter which one, because I have them kind of configured the same anyway. You can see like learn about JavaScript. No previous programming experience required, right? So it's just going to say like, hey, this is how different stuff with JavaScript works. This is the basics of Node and using it asynchronously in the HTTP framework and stuff like that. So, sorry, that music was a little loud for me. So there we go. Cool. All right. So that being said, you can learn Git, npm, like building your own packages and stuff like that, which is something that I haven't ever really looked at. I've used packages and I've had code that I reuse, like templates and stuff, but I've never done my own npm package. Kind of dumb, but scope chains and closures, really, and apparently garbage collection. So you can kind of you can learn some of that stuff. Stream adventure. Streams are awesome. That is one feature of Node that is just, I mean, quite honestly, really badass. So it's not just a feature of Node only, but Node does it very well. And it's streaming framework, it's asynchronous framework. It lends itself to this really well, transfer encoding chunked with Node. It's pretty awesome. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and close that. And then you have elementary Electron. So that's building a desktop application with Node and Chromium. I haven't done that either. I actually want to look up an example of that, which would be pretty cool. And then you have all of these other ones, right? So yeah, all sorts of stuff to help you out. Lolo Dash, if you haven't used that, is for arrays. Learning promises. Promises are pretty important if you're in the JavaScript realm. It's important in other languages too, but they are used extensively in stuff like jQuery and JavaScript and Node. And so yeah, generators are pretty cool. Actually, I might even look up a generator example. Guess I have to type right. Actually, you know what? I think we'll do it with Python, because I know they have a good example of what a generator is here. So advanced tutorials on learnpython.org. This is a really cool site, by the way, if you're interested in Python. I know this whole thing's about Node, but you can see hello world, all the variable types, the lists. Let's actually click on a few of these so you can kind of go through them, but see like my int, my float. You can see float like that way. Shows you how you can define strings and how you can kind of do different types of assignments like switching. This is pretty awesome. Little stuff, but depends on who you are, I guess. But yeah, so it'll go all the way through. Loops, conditional string formatting, dictionaries, classes and objects, Actually, let's look at the dictionaries real quick. Got some normal objects here with key value pairs. And check out like a specific object's properties and the value of that property. So that's enough about Python. We'll just jump straight into generators real quick so you can see why I'm talking about them and why they're so cool. So generators are very easy to implement but difficult to understand. Generators can be used to create iterators, but with a different approach. Generators are simple functions which return an iterable set of items, one at a time, in a special way. When an iteration over a set of items starts using the for statement, the generator is run. Once the generator's function code reaches a yield statement, the generator yields its execution back to the for loop, returning a new value from the set. The generator function can generate as many values as possible. As many values as it wants. Possibly infinite, as it wants, yielding each one in its turn. Here's an example of an iterator or of a generator function which returns 7 random integers. So import random, so that's just to use random numbers, I'm guessing, and define lottery. So we have this method here, return 6 numbers between 1 and 40, for I in x range 6, yield random dot random int between 1 and 40, basically. So returns a 7th number between 1 and 15. So yield, so it returns 6 numbers, and then it's going to return a 7th number between 1 and 15 instead. Maybe that's like going to be your Powerball number, right? So for random number in lottery, print yada yada yada. So notice that for random number in lottery, this is calling a function. So that's kind of cool. This function actually returns an iterable set. So it will yield these out one at a time in process. So what that means is you're not like, it's not returning an array of static values. So this could be updated at all times. It allows you to also feed stuff in and load stuff on the fly. So let's say you have like, it's calculating out stuff and that takes a while. So it might be calculating out 10 values and each one of those 10 values takes, let's say 5 seconds. So that's going to be a total of 50 seconds. Well, instead of waiting 50 seconds to get responses as each one yields in, so as that yield hits, it'll be returned to this function right here. Look on the screen real quick. So that print. So it would print those out as it's yielding them. So you'd get one every 5 seconds. And that's pretty powerful. It's kind of like the concept of streaming. Like as data comes in, it can be written. So I'm not going to go heavy into that, but generators are cool. Just know that. We're going to go back to Node School. So you can see, yada yada. There's a lot of stuff here. Web Audio School. I think there's a WebGL. Yep, WebGL. And then there's even one for shaders and stuff like that. So graphics programming. You can use shaders to do a lot of cool stuff. Not going to go into that either. But just kind of showing you what's here on this site. So postmortem debugging, Seneca in practice, curing, learn you bash. So regex, that's kind of cool. So parse text with regular expressions, learn you Mongo. Helps people, understand these different components that are used in Node. So this site is definitely awesome. I would say rock on for this, for them doing the site. I'm not getting kickbacks. I'm not getting paid for recommending this site. It's just awesome. So if you're interested in learning Node from scratch, you got a really badass resource, nodeschool.io, JavaScripting, and then learn you Node. I'm going to go ahead and pop into the learn you Node program here, and we will, what do I want to use? PowerShell? Let's do PowerShell. I could use the git bash, but yeah, it doesn't. But I have it set up pretty much the same anyway. Like you'll see, PowerShell is actually coming up with like kind of a more Unixy approach. Cool. So cd c I think this is dev/learn. Oh, look at that. And then I need a cd into learnyounode. Cool. So we'll clear that. cd c dev/learn/learn unode. Cool. Does this actually matter that I'm here on this one? Not really, because we're just actually going to run learnyounode. But how you install this is just npm install -g and then learnyounode. I already have it installed, so I'm not going to. I'm just going to run it. So learnyounode, it comes up with this kind of cool little console thing, and you're just going to be rocking it out. You can see which ones are completed and which ones aren't. So you guys can see, you're like right here, hello world, baby steps, first IO, first async, and actually first async is still up. So we'll just do vim pro. So just so you guys know, I just created this folder for this project, and I just keep reusing the same file. So if we ls this to show what's going on, if you're wondering about like how my dev environment's set up to where I'm using like bash commands and stuff, you can ask me later. Or I don't know, ask me in chat and I'll probably respond. But you can see like I have a program.js file right there. So I'm just gonna clear this, and we'll vim program.js, and I've been using the same program.js file. So this is it. This is the, you know, super handy dandy cool kids file that does my first async IO. So you can see my first IO, which is synchronous, and then async is the second one. So we have just, you know, require the file system. We're gonna start counting at 0 because this specific challenge is, what was the specific? Oh, okay. The specific challenge was that learnyounode, when it went to test it, was going to pass in arguments to the process of your Node app, which in this case was going to be a file. You had to read the file asynchronously and count the lines in it. So you can see basically when you do something async, you need a callback. So then after that, it becomes pretty simple, right? So once we have data, so if there's an error, just return, this isn't going to work. There's an error, so we're grabbing process argv2. So the first two, actually, you know what, we can, thinking about doing this right here. We'll just quit this real quick. We'll go back into it in a second, but we'll just node and then process dot argv. So you can see this. This is just where node is, and the other one is like where the execution's happening. So index 0, because arrays are 0 indexed, is the path to node. The next one is going to be the path to wherever you're running the code, just as a side note. So, well, oops. Okay, clear. And what we're doing, doing vim program. So let's pop into this next one. So we got this for loop, right? So what this for loop does is, so the first two arguments, you know, I'm pointing at the screen as if you guys can frickin' see me pointing. But you'll notice that that process.argv2, that's because the 0 index is the path to node. The next one, so the index of 1 in this array, is going to be the path of your running program. And then the third one is actually going to be what's passed in from the learnyounode thingamabob. So, which in this case is going to be a file, and they tell you what they're going to be passing in so that you can actually accomplish this task. So that being said, it goes, so this is our callback, this function right here. Cool, so this function right here is our callback. The first response is going to be checking for an error, and then we do something with the data if there is no error. So for I equals 0, I is less than data.length plus I. So increment I. Now, if data I, so the index of where we're at, of the data, so this file that's passed in, is equal to 10. Now 10 is the indicator for a new line, just so you guys know. And then it's going to say count plus plus. So if you look up here on line 2, actually, let's do this. I think it's set num. Oops, not num, set num. Okay, so that's fixed. Cool. Help me out, guys. Come on. You set line numbers in Vim. I need to actually configure my Vim RC, but I haven't done that yet. So set line. It looks like it's supposed to be set number. Set number. Okay, there we go. I thought I did that. Guess not. Okay, so this makes it a little bit easier for you guys and for me. So line 2, you can see we set the count to 0 because we're supposed to be returning back to the caller. In this case, we're actually supposed to be writing it to standard out. So standard out, the same thing. Console.log is writing to standard out in this case. So we have to count the amount of lines that are in whatever file that they send us. And so that's basically what that does. So basically, if there's a new line command that it sees, which is right here, it will increment the count. So how many new lines it sees, and then it outputs after that for loop closes. It outputs that to console, and then actually visual J, oops, K, and then I think this will do it. Oh, look at that. Set tab stop equal to 4, and then we'll visual J. What the monkeys, man? Set tab stop equal 4. Man, is my Vim skills failing me? Here we go, Google foo. I think it might be tab stop. But that's what I did. We'll see if this is... Shift with equal 4. Visual J. Could have done that a little bit more efficiently. There we go. Woohoo! Okay, so now we have normal tabbing. That was bothering me, guys. Okay, so butching. So anyway, this was the last thing. So now we're gonna the last challenge. So now we are going to go into this one. This is a longer one. All right. There's the hints. So LS exercise 5 of 13, filtered LS, sorry. Create a program that prints a list of files in a given directory, filtered by the extension of the files. You'll be provided a directory name as the first argument to your program, e.g. path to dir, and file extension to filter as a second argument. For example, if you get a text as the second argument, you will need to filter the list to only files that end with .txt. Note that the second argument will not come prefixed with a dot. Okay, so that's important. So it's going to just give you the actual extension without the dot so that you're not looking for that. The good stuff. Hence, the fs readdir method takes a path name as its first argument and a callback as its second. The callback signature is callback error.list, where list is an array of file name strings. Documentation on the FS model can be found here. You may also find the path Node's path module helpful, particularly extension name method or ext name method on the path module here. So let's see. I don't know if I can highlight and copy from this, but let's see what happens if I do. Oh. Nope, can't do it without doing something cooler, which is something that, what the shizzle, man? What? I don't know what is up with that. Did not mean to do that. Anyway. So yeah, you can see here's the challenge that we gotta do. It wants us to use the path module, apparently, and I can already start to get a feel for how this is gonna go down. So we'll just start writing code. Let's go to delete. Okay. Actually, let's do this. Let's vim, and what is this one called? Filtered ls. So vim filter ls.js. So we're going to create a new one for this, and then we're in visual mode. That's always awesome. So var ref equals require fs, and then let's see if we can actually reuse any code from this. So we'll right quit that, we'll vim program. Nope. So quit that, and vim filter ls. Okay, so we have that, and supposedly we're going to want to use the path module, specifically the extension name method. So let me see this documentation. Actually, you know what we could do is we'll do this. Showing. So that says that that's an owner. Where am I? Okay, cool. So I should be able to go into app data. Let me see if that works. Yep. Okay. CD roaming PM node underscore modules learnyounode, and then node API doc slash. Cool, so we're there. We're in that directory. And I'm just going to vim this HTML file, path.html. So this is just me looking at the documentation in a super fancy way. Blah, blah, blah. This is probably going to confuse more people than anything. Maybe I should just quit. All right, cool. Well, we shouldn't do that. It's all good. Hoo-hoo. Give me a second, guys. npm node modules learnyounode. Cool. And then we are going to do node API doc and path. Good stuff. Not sure why it's being so weird. But we will see what happens. And I'll show you guys here in a second. Here we go. So this is so what did it say that we wanted to use? It said that we'd be particularly interested in the extension name method. So we're going to look at this, but we have path.normalize. So let's just look through a couple of them. So this module contains helpful utilities for handling transforming file paths. Almost all these methods can be performed only a string. The file system is not consulted to check whether paths are valid. Use require.path to use this module. Let's go ahead and do that real quick. So var path equals require path. So we'll go ahead and do that. And then we'll write that down. Okay, so normalize a string path, take care of ... and when slashes are found, they're replaced by a single one. When paths contain a trailing slash, it is preserved. On Windows, backslashes are used. So, path.join. This can actually become pretty helpful. Absolute path. Okay, so let's just pop down to what we need for this example. Returns the extension of the path from the last dot to the end of the string in the last portion of the path. There is no dot in the last portion of the path, or the first character of it is dot, then it returns an empty string. So returns .html and returns MD. Okay, cool. So returns nada. Okay, so returns dot dot. So what other things in path might we want to use? All right, so we know that they want us to use the, sorry, wrong one, guys. So it's like, okay. Read dir. So we need that in the file system documentation. So we need to go back to docs. This is kind of crazy why it's taking so long. Not sure what's up with that. Ooh, that looks like an awesome article though. Nah, stop. Forward. I want to look at that article. All right. Let's actually double check what Node version I have. So we'll just kind of quit out of this real quick. Node -- version 5.9.1. Oh, yep, right one. So I want to see the file system. And then specifically, I want to see this read dir. So read dir, it takes a path and a callback. You have read dir sync. So what I want to actually see though, it has all sorts of watch, yada yada yada. I'm wondering if it has any sort of sorting in it, is what I'm wondering. Okay, so this is asynchronous. We know that. Cool. Reads the contents of directory and callback is to arguments, error files, where files is an array of the names of files in a directory, excluding the dot and dot dot. Names of the files in that directory, excluding dot and dot dot. Okay, cool. So let's do vim program.js for this last example. So we know that we need the process args too, but they're going to also pass us in one other one. And then I'm kind of curious about this. So okay, and let's go back to program. So we know that we have fs.read file is not going to be the call. Sorry guys, my mind is going everywhere right now. So we'll actually just do straight up fs.read dir. Gotta make sure that we know that what the, so this, okay, the extension they want us to filter on will be the second argument. Var, we'll say input path equals process dot argv2, because that's the first argument that they're actually giving us. And then var extension to sort, we'll say, and actually is process dot argv. Cool. So we're good there. We know what that is. And now we're just going to fs.read dir, and then the first name is going to be the path name, so we're just going to put the input path right there, and then the second argument is going to be a callback, which returns an error in the list. So this is going to be pretty simple. We're just going to use a function, and then we're going to say error, and then file list. Yeah, let's go ahead and we'll rock that out. No big deal. Man. One second, guys. There we go. That's better. So we're just gonna write this real quick because actually, and then we'll go ahead and close this out real quick, just so that we don't forget later. Oops. There we go. All right. So for, I think we can do this, file and file list. Can we do that, guys? I think we can. So create a program that prints the list of files in a given directory, filtered by the extension of the files. So okay, so this is easy. So we're just gonna do, we have our path element, specifically the extension module. I could actually shorten that up by grabbing the exact method of the extension path. So path, we need the if does anyone remember what this extension, so it just takes in the file. Cool. So we're good to go there. So path dot extension, and then, this should be a file. Is equal to. It said that the second. Equal to see, the thing is that they're going to pass us in the extension like txt, for instance, but we need to add a dot to it. So instead of doing that down here, I'm just going to do it in the initial there we go. Sorry, that was bothering me. So we're going to do, excuse me, plus. Cool. So that's going to give us our nice little loveliness. And then now we're going to go back to this. Oops, my bad. And now we're going to equal to extension sort, which is our variable that we just created. And if that's true, we're going to actually, let's use good practices here, just since this is live and all that loveliness. And then we'll just do, I think this just is supposed to print it out, right? So it says that the list, so I'm looking right here, it says the list of files should be printed out to the console, 1 file per line. You must use asynchronous I/O. 1 file per line. So console dot log. We'll just rock this out then. And then we'll just print out the file itself, I believe. The list of files should be printed out to the console. Cool. And then I don't think we actually need to do anything else. We got the parameters coming in from them, and that should be good to go. So let's see what happens here. Right. Okay, so let's just check our code first, right? And then it always tells you, okay, you can try this, yada, yada, yada. Node filter. Actually, let's just run straight through to their test. So learnyounode run filter ls.js. So filter.js line 16. All right, let's check this out. Man, every time I go in here, I gotta reset this. There we go. Line 16. There is not a line 16. So that's interesting. However, I do see an issue. You guys see the issue? Oops, I'm going the wrong way. Okay. That wasn't ended appropriately. So it's going to do that one at a time right now. We could actually add those files to, say, an array object, print out the array object, or we could add them all to a string with some carriage return lines feeds or something like that inside the strings so that it printed out the right way. But not worried about that. It says that it wants printed to the console 1 file per line. So we'll see if that makes them happy. And we're just going to check this same thing again. We got unexpected token. So that tells me that we got something else wrong here. Oh, we do. Remember that good coding practice? I never ended my my if loop. So we'll go ahead and end this by doing that. All right, guys. So here we'll. Okay, so that didn't work at all. Don't know what the heck happened. I'm guessing it errored out. So what we want to do here is change the word. We'll just do console.log there, and that should handle that. Yeah, that should be fine. Or not. I guess let's try it out. What do I have to do? Verify. This doesn't look like it's gonna work though, by the way. Got nothing. So we did use the right asynchronous method, yada yada yada. So let's just do some really ghetto debugging, just because I feel like it. So it's not outputting an error. So we know that that's not the case. So let's go here and do console.log. And what I want to log is the input path. So input path equals, and then plus input path dot to string, which I don't think I need to do that part. And then let's go ahead and import or log the. Actually, why am I doing this? This is kind of the ghetto way to do it. So cool. All right, and then word. This is going to be the file list. So we'll change word file list to file list. Cool. Just to start with, we'll see what's up with that. And we'll just run that, see what happens. The input is a temporary file, cool, or folder, I should say. The file list is api.html. Cool. So let's go one step further, and let's output a couple of other things, like our extensions, for instance. So let's do that. Console.log. I want to see what the extension sort is for sure, to see if I'm screwing that part up. And then the next thing that I want to do is then let's see. Let's actually output the file here too. And before we do that, let's go ahead and filter this down a little bit more by making just this more apparent. We're just going to add some of that for some spice. Now, this is a really ghetto way of debugging, by the way, but we're going to do it anyway. Cool. So we have file 0. File. Okay. So it is hitting that loop. So we got the function is going to be the MD on this one. Then we got 13, 14. So the file looks like it's the index of the array. So let's go ahead and pop that up. If that's true, and this is the index of the array for each file in the file list, that's annoying. But what we'll do is we'll just go back one, and then we'll just insert here. We'll do file list, and then insert, boom. So this should take care of it, and then if that's true, we'll just back this up, and then we will yank till boom, and then we gotta change word, paste. Aw. Ooh, what did I do? Please tell me I didn't actually do what I think I just did. Crap. swap file, already exists. So we do have just these two, it looks like. Okay, so I want to recover. Okay, cool. So yes, this was our, we're good now. I'm gonna write this out so that we don't lose that. And then we need to do, cool. So to file list. Weird stuff, guys. Weird stuff. Anywho, sorry, I am squirreling on you. Squirrel. All right, back, and then we are going to just do the same thing here. So file list. Boom. Oh man. Weird. Boom. Word. Okay, cool. So hypothetically, this should work, but we'll see. I didn't read it all over again, and I got confused when I accidentally killed everything. Okay, cool. So you can see it's basically doing exactly what it should. We got, yep, everything that it should be doing. So now we just got to pull out our crap from it. Cool. So yeah, just this is not the fastest way for sure. Cool. So that should be it. Oh, except for there's one extra line of crap there. And then I think we're good. So let's test this again. Sweet. That looks like it works, guys. That looks like it works. So let's look at the beauty again and go over this one more time just for the sake of understanding. So yes. Swap file. I think I need to delete this swap file so that it stops giving me this, but we're going to edit this anyway. Okay, so going back over this, var fs equals require, and cool. So var sf or fs equals require. So we're basically requiring the file system. We're requiring the path module to help us deal with these paths. So we're getting the input path. Now this is, if you guys look over here, it tells you like, hey, what we're giving you is you will be provided a directory as the first argument to your program. So this is going to be the directory where all of the files are that they want us to sort through. And then this is going to be the extension that they want us to sort by. So only include files with that extension. So we grab the input path by process.argv2, which is going to be their first argument that they pass in, because remember the first one, which is 0, because it's a 0 index, is that's going to be the path to node. The second one, which is actually going to be an index of the index of 1 in the array, which is the second item, is going to be the path to your program. The third one is going to be the first argument passed in, and so on and so forth. So and the third one is actually 2 because it's 0 index, and then the fourth argument is the file extension, which is 3 because it's 0 index as well. So we grab that. We add this dot here because they flat out tell us that you will get that without the dot. Comes prefixed with, it says argument will not come prefixed with a dot. So we need to add that back in because the extension name is going to give us their extension with a dot. So instead of like trying to parse out or remove the first character and do like a substring, screw that. We'll just add a dot to the input that they're going to give us. So we go file system, basically dot read directory, the input path, which is the path, the directory that we're trying to read. And then this is the callback function. So it takes the error as the first argument, and then the actual data that it returns, which in this case is a list of files. So this is a list of files for everything in this directory that it passed in. If there's an error, it logs it to the console, which technically we should change that to return so that it doesn't continue trying to kill our program. So let's go ahead and do that. Change to boom and return. Cool. So we will write that. Then we go for file and file list. So for each file in the file list, we do the path.extension name, which is going to give us the extension name. See if it's equal to the extension that we're supposed to sort by. So if the file extension is the same one that we're supposed to include, we just write out that whole file. If it's not, we don't. So good stuff. Now right click, quit, and we have now ran this effectively. What we need to do now though is instead of run, we need to verify and make sure that this is all good. So boom. Yep, everything is good. So submission results match as expected. Use the asynchronous method fs.readdir. Pass your solution to filtered ls passed. So here's the official solution in case you want to compare notes. So this is a list. So this uses for each, and then it says a file. So path name extension file, and then it says equal to. They add the dot here and just grab the process arg where as I put it as its own variable earlier on in the program, and then they log the file. So they have a little bit less transforming because they're using dot for each, because that's going to give the actual thing instead of giving the index, which is the for loop that I did. So that's a smarter way to do it. About the same amount of lines of code. I think I have maybe 3 more lines of code in there. But yeah, we're good to go of actual code, not blank space. So I think that's pretty good to go, and that means that we completed that challenge. And what we can do now is go to learnyounode, and it will show filtered ls is completed right here, and that we are on make it modular. So that's all for today, guys. Maybe I'll do the next one. Maybe I'll do some actual node programming where I'm going to use mean.io, the mean.io stack. At least that's what I'm thinking I'm going to use. I might use something else. I have to create a couple of apps soon, so we'll see what happens. Anyway, until next time, guys, I will see you later and hope you enjoyed it. If you did, comment, subscribe, do whatever it is you do. If these are a little boring, come and chat with me. Ask me questions. Hit me up. I will do whatever videos you guys leave in the chat. So, well, within reason. So let me know what you guys want. Talk to you later, and hope you have an amazing day. Peace out. Actually. Whoop, whoop. See you later.